Words can hardly describe the sheer thrill to have the opportunity to talk to a friend of longstanding whose position of responsibility almost boggles the mind now, but not too much longer, we hope. Welcome, if you will, to WTOC, the Commanding General of Task Force Marne and 3rd ID, Major General Tony Cucolo. Rock of the Marne, General.
Rock of the Marne, Sonny, in coastal Georgia. Thanks so much for talking to us today.
Well, the first question is the obvious one with which we always begin, and you can always break it down in all its elements. How are things going there in Iraq generally, but it's certainly in northern Iraq where you've been here for the last number of months?
Yeah, no, it's going very well, actually, Sonny. Matter of fact, it's one of those moments where I'm saying it's too quiet. We've had the 5th straight week of the lowest violence we've ever had, and the good news is we believe that the violent extremist networks have, in fact, been knocked back to a great degree. But the nature of their organizations are such that they could gather their limited resources for 1 or 2 very high-profile attacks in populated areas. So we're constantly looking for that and constantly trying to help our Iraqi partners keep them on their heels. But things are going extremely well right now. We're actually really concentrating on the advise, train, and assist part of our mission, trying to make the Iraqi police and the Iraqi army much better forces.
Well, I want to get back with a couple more Iraq questions in a moment, but from your perch there in the command position at Task Force Marne, you can see all the way over that massive country of Iran into a much more turbulent setting in Afghanistan, where selfishly, I guess my eyes and a lot of our eyes have been most focused on 3rd Combat Aviation Brigade and other forces from here at home who are there. Some of them special ops about whom we can't speak, don't know whether they're there or not. But 3rd Cab, we know is there, and their service has been remarkable.
Oh, absolutely, and that's not selfish at all. That's the absolute right thing to do, is watch those incredible men and women in the 3rd Combat Aviation Brigade. Just amazing when I hear the stories that Colonel Galley sends me, and he calls me every now and then. Don't tell General Campbell that in the 101st, but Colonel Galley calls me periodically and tells me how everybody's doing. Amazing stories of combat, of training the nascent Afghan aviation force, of our ground. Our Army aviators and our mechanics and truck drivers that have been formed into a ground combat element to help sweep IEDs off the roads as the aircraft fly overhead. As you know, we've been shot at and hit, had a few wounded lately, but everyone is good, everyone's fine, and in the medical system, those that needed to be. I'm just so impressed with the way they've emptied their ammunition boxes into the enemy in a very, very lethal manner. They've done a phenomenal job with medevac, and I'll tell you what, if you're a soldier on the ground and you look up and see those Marne aviators up there, you have a very good feeling. You know you're going to be okay. So we are so proud of their service.
Amen. And it's not just in Afghanistan, but some of the humanitarian aid that they have been able to render in places of natural disaster has been stunning as well.
Oh, the very first American helicopters responding to the Pakistani floods were Marne aviators. I want to there's a mix of CH-47s, heavy lift, and our Blackhawks, a medium lift, heading straight in. I mean, from their combat outposts, fueled up, answer the border, and head, and Sonny, I apologize. We're testing our emergency broadcasting system. Clearly, they are not aware the CG is talking to Sonny Dixon.
When I heard an alarm go off in Iraq and you're there, that makes me more than a little nervous.
Well, no, it might have been indirect fire, but the good news is they're incredibly inaccurate.
Thank God.
But back to the Pakistani relief, phenomenal effort. You got to imagine these are U.S. aviators flying into a Pakistani Army airfield, opening up a map, folks pointing at the map, coordinating radio frequencies, finding out who's on the ground, and then just taking off and heading, riding to the sound of the needed relief. And hundreds and thousands of folks saved by Marine aviators, tons of relief supplies. They were incredible, and they held the line while America got Marine aviation off of ships in position to relieve them. And the last thing I want to say about that is those same pilots and aircraft that were saving folks from floods and moving relief supplies flew back into Afghanistan, got one night's sleep, and then flew a combat air assault the next day. I mean, they're incredible.
Rock of the barn. That's exactly, it's absolutely amazing. Shift our focus back to Iraq, and I have a couple of questions in mind, and I think I'll just mix them both together, given this satellite delay, and let you respond to them. You've helped me in the past, helped us all to understand a little bit what a challenge it is to work with these ancient tribal rivalries and the impact that has on any realistic expectation of a functioning government in Iraq. But separate from that, the people who you are training now, they also cast into that conundrum of the competing rivalry of the tribes and so forth. You had great insights before on how young men who are supposed to be polemical all the time, fighting each other, maybe even killing each other, are wanting to go out together socially, staying in the same tents, that sort of thing. So I guess the two-part question is the realistic expectations for a functioning government in Iraq set against the historic backdrop, and how are those forces doing effectively working toward their own defense?
Sure. I'll tell you what, I have great hopes and high expectations for a functioning government here in Iraq. I believe they will achieve it. It's going to be on their terms. Obviously, it's on their timetable, and that is based on some of the things you mentioned: ancient rivalries, recent scar tissue from for some very difficult years, and then trying to understand how does this democracy thing work? What do these political parties mean, and what kind of power can we wield once we are seated in the government? But the bottom line is they're feeling all that out, and I am confident that they're going to form a government. It'll be an effective government for Iraq. It's going to take some growing, no doubt, just like our nation did. Understanding how to operate inside a constitution, the role of the Supreme Court, how powerful the executives in this government must be. They're figuring all that out right now. And again, it's going to be an Iraqi solution, but I'm confident it's going to be good. It's just going to take some time. I'll tell you what, one of the big positive outcomes of our experience here has been the combined security mechanism, and that is us occupying 22 checkpoints, initially 26, but now 22 because it works. 26 checkpoints with Kurds and Arabs, two groups that were fighting each other a year ago. Two groups that a year ago that at the drop of a hat would move tanks against each other, would start shooting at each other. Last summer, USFI Commander then, General Odierno, said enough is enough, appeal to both leader of the KRG, leader of government of Iraq, Central Iraq, and said, what is it going to take? And there are no good reasons for you to be fighting each other. And the response was, I'm going to oversimplify it, well, if you don't think there are any good reasons for us fighting each other, then perhaps you ought to stand between us. And so was born the combined security mechanism, where right now, tonight, Sonny, at 22 different places from the Syrian border to the Iranian border, there is a U.S. Army platoon living, patrolling, operating a checkpoint with a Kurdish platoon and an Iraqi Army platoon. And that's working. The myths have been busted, the misperceptions dismantled, miscommunications minimized. And I've got Kurds and Arabs working together for one Iraq. And you ask, what's the potential for the future with the backdrop and the context of ancient tribal rivalries, sectarian issues, that would be religion versus Sunni versus Shia, and then the ethnic issues, which would be Kurd versus Arab. What I see every day is a people that is prone to nationalism, and under the right conditions and with the right motivation, and with these misperceptions and myths busted, I see them being Iraqis first, and that's going to take a little bit of time, but I really think we're on the road to success in that.